Welcome to Higher Level Gaming. I'm Rob Glob.
And I'm Katie.
And today we're talking about sexism in the games industry. Sexism in the games industry. It's definitely one of our favorite topics here at the channel. So if you're a fan of talking about sexism in the games industry, consider liking this video or subscribing to Higher Level Gaming to find out every time we post about sexism in the games industry. Or I guess you could not subscribe if you don't care about sexism and you're like a misogynistic asshole or something. But you know what's funny? Today, you wouldn't be a misogynist, no. You would be a femogynist. Or otherwise known as a misandrist. Because that's right, we're not talking about sexism against women today. We're talking about a much rarer beast. It's like the shiny Pokemon of sexism. It's sexism against men.
This is the most dramatic intro to just saying sexism against men ever.
Sexism against women is just like deadpan.
It just
Sexism
happens
against
all the time. So like you don't need like a long
sexism against men. You will not believe this breaking news story.
It does happen.
It has happened. Maybe I should tell you what happened. A pro gamer was fired after saying that men under 5'7" don't have human rights. Somebody check in with Kevin Hart. Somebody needs to see if he's okay right now.
Okay, that's like I don't know what to say to that.
Young Ye-san, are you okay, Young Ye-san? We love you. Article written by Brian Ashcraft, you sex traitor. No, I'm just kidding. Because you know Candace Owens, she's a race traitor.
What are you
But Brian
about?
Ashcraft, for not taking this horrible affront seriously, you, my friend, you're a sex traitor. Think about that. You've betrayed your sex. Professional Tekken player Tanukana. That is the name. Tanukana. I will never forget the name. That is the name of my enemy. The name of my oppressor.
I don't feel like you should be making such a joke out of it.
Tanukana has been booted.
Don't say her name like that.
Tanukana has been booted.
That's much better.
Tanukana has been booted. I'm sorry I'm laughing so much. I just can't control it. I can't take this shit seriously, even though it is serious. It's just funny at the same time. Tanukana has been booted from Osaka-based esports team Cyclops Athlete Gaming for remarks she made about men's height during a live stream. I like that Brian also added, following a recent spate of far more incendiary remarks, like he just has to throw it in there that saying that men under 5'7" have no rights and should get bone surgery, like that's not that incendiary, guys. Like he just had to point that out.
Wow, if you continue to read on, she is really a garbage person. Not only did she say that men who are under 5'7" don't have human rights, she doesn't think people with A-cup sized breasts should have human rights.
Katie, that means you have 4 times human rights.
And she's told people on stream to just
KMS. Don't say the real thing because YouTube doesn't like that.
Yeah, that's.
But sexism in gaming, I don't think they'll care that I said that 50 times. She's toxic.
Is there any reason to defend this person? Like,
you know that Britney Spears song, Toxic? That's her.
Even if you want to say that this isn't sexism, it's body shaming at the very least, which is just plain wrong.
Come on, Katie. Well, we're in the West. This is clearly a poor meme and or joke. Obviously, you can read it as literally as a remark. I mean, against a group of people. I mean, but power dynamics make it more complicated than saying something truly discriminatory about a protected or vulnerable class. I mean, I guess to say half of all men in Japan are a vulnerable class would be a stretch. And obviously saying things about that are discriminatory about like truly vulnerable classes is much worse than saying this about short men. But at the same time, it's not like they're an unvulnerable or invulnerable class. And there definitely is heightism when it comes to men. And I think it could be worse than we really acknowledge at this point. Part of misogyny, right, is that men don't talk about their feelings or their issues or their grievances with society or the ways that they feel wronged by people. You have to be stoic to be a man, right? So I think in a lot of ways, like things like heightism and body dysmorphia, these are issues that men don't talk about, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we don't suffer from them. Anyway, Brian goes on to say that she apologized and it was poorly expressing her love of tall people. He also goes on to say that like human rights could also have just meant like essential, as in like for her having a tall man is essential. But in context, she also immediately said if you're shorter you should get bone surgery, so that's not the intent of her statement. You don't say, oh, it's essential you're tall, get bone surgery if you're not. This got picked up by a popular publication in Japan after she had apologized, and then, you know, her crew had to apologize for her. She apologized again because Red Bull was upset with her, which, yeah, Red Bull's not gonna go with this. Red Bull's not gonna go for this stuff. They are serious business. It appears that something or someone had to give, and that's exactly what happened. They terminated Tamanaka's contract. It's gone truly nationwide, and you could say multinational now. But not really, because we don't count. Well, clearly her comments were far from the most unpleasant remarks she made. They ended up arguably insulting half of the men where the average height is 170. Yeah, half of the men in the country are going to be shorter than that, so probably a bad thing to say. It's also been claimed, though, that she has discriminated against those that are black and part of the LGBTQ community. There was an instance where she said on a stream, gay, when you're saying who's the gayest, it's Kokoma. Everyone say Kokoma is gay. So obviously, you know, this is someone being, they're using the, like, haha, you're gay thing, which is super marginalizing to gay people. She has denied this claim, saying you need to go back and start all over from kindergarten. So, very sophisticated refutation going on there. So now, obviously, the tone of this article is not the most sympathetic to men who might have felt offended by what this woman said. And I think that's a little disappointing for Kotaku. Kotaku, I think, is very proud, or at least they seem to be very proud, of being a very progressive website. And it's weird that such a progressive website seems to be fine with this woman's use of body shaming.
Kotaku usually does a really good job when it comes to like pointing out discrimination, so it is really disappointing that here they seem to have a really light-hearted approach. Like they don't think it's worth even her being fired over. They don't take it seriously or think that that kind of language is harmful.
But we actually have some evidence that it is harmful, and there was a study in the American Journal of Psychiatry. Now, this is Wikipedia, so it could be wrong, but I mean, the American Journal of Psychiatry, that's pretty reliable. And it found a strong inverse association between height and suicide in Swedish men. It was found that a 5-centimeter increase in height was associated with a 9% decrease in suicide risk, which is kind of insane. Like, that's a big percentage number for 2 inches.
A 2-inch increase in height, that's not a lot.
Which indicates there's some kind of psychological disadvantage to not being tall. That disadvantage would most likely be experiencing heightism. Kevin Hart told Oprah Winfrey that he was picked on for his height as a child, being 5'2" as a grown man. Kevin Hart has been short his whole life. And he would take the self-depreciation strategy, meaning that he would make fun of himself before others did it. You can see how that would be extremely useful to a professional comedian.
But if you're not a professional comedian, then you just have to basically
emasculate yourself.
Yeah, you just have to self-deprecate yourself all the time.
I shouldn't even say emasculate because that feeds into the same height. To like make fun of yourself is emasculating. Like, you have to make fun of yourself before other people do it, but that in a way shows confidence because it shows that like you know that people are going to say that and you're okay with it, which is better than just allowing people to tear you down.
Yeah, it's like tear yourself down before anyone else does. Another fun part about being short is your friends never cease to make fun of you, even when you're rich and famous, and those friends are The Rock.
Now look, this isn't good humor, and like they're friends, so this is probably not something that Kevin Hart feels any type of way about, but you can't deny that short men do experience certain biases because of their height.
I think also another place like where heightism really can come into play is in the workplace. Like those kind of negative stereotypes about short men are harmful in the workplace.
So the article was a bit off, but really, the true body shaming, bullying, and othering of people for their immutable physical characteristics is happening in the comments of this article. Microsoft buying Activision Blizzard, it only has 468 comments, so this garnered even more discussion than the biggest tech acquisition of all time in the US. And boy was that discussion a dumpster fire. Jin and Panic is the chief discriminator in this comment thread, saying sounds like she got all the Napoleon complexes riled up something fierce. Also, everyone defending this firing, tell me you're under 5'7" without telling me you're under 5'7". Quite incendiary.
122 stars or whatever. That sucks.
That sucks because literally, like, I thought that Kotaku was the progressive website where they don't stand for bullying. Bug Generator says, would you react the same way if she'd said fat people have no rights, they should all get bariatric surgery? Height is something you're born with, like skin color or gender, and there's bias against it as well. Very true. This guy says he's 6 feet and he doesn't have a problem with her being fired. You can say I prefer tall men without saying short men aren't humans and should have surgery to fix their defect. Replace tall/short with any other immutable identifier about a person, you know, like race or nationality or bust size or whatever, and it's pretty easy to see why it's problematic. It's problematic, guys. Like, do we still care about things being problematic at Kotaku? Why is this person's comments, which are clearly discriminatory and bullying, being left up on Kotaku? Now, there are a ton of people in the comments who feel like they don't care that she was fired and they think that it's great that she was fired. After tons of people point out how it's problematic and how it's discriminatory, Jin and Panic says, thanks to the many of you for showing me that people who are actually upset by this are stunted in more ways than just physical height. So she decides to just double down, saying that people who are short, not only are they short, but they don't actually have like full-grown emotions, which is another stereotype. It is an actual stereotype about short people, and this is one that you see a lot with not just shorter people, but with people who are actually dwarves or suffer from dwarfism. I'm not really sure what the correct term is even, but people who are that short are often depicted in the media as angry or fighting all the time, or like basically slapstick comedy routines where they just come out and they're like swinging their arms around at everyone and they can't control themselves because they're quote unquote stunted in more ways than just physical height. So it's terrible that this person is just spreading all these discriminatory views, and it's totally fine to Kotaku.
I think this is great because even though her comment is a top comment, most of the comments that are replying are just pointing out how wrong she is and how fucked up it is, and how if it was about race or gender or anything else you couldn't control, it would be just as wrong.
Then you have people who are saying, oh, it's just a joke about how she likes tall men, there's no way, like, come on.
Right.
But that's not a good argument because, as Plain Hugger says, you can say I like women with small noses without saying women with larger noses are lacking and should get surgery. Like, come on.
As Killian said, imagine joking about how a guy prefers skinny chicks and says fat women don't have human rights.
Try saying fat women don't have human rights in America.
He said this is equality, and it is. Let's just not be sexist and reinforce sexism.
I will come and fucking cancel you myself if you say fat women don't have human rights, goddammit. This person says, let's be honest, a bunch of gamer dudes under 5'6" are the ones saying shit like make me a sandwich or get back to the kitchen, so it sounds like they can't take it as well as they give it. Ooh. Gamers are often some of the most toxic people, and while her remarks might have gone far, the idea that she made fun of short men and lost her job for it is a joke. No, I think it's true that plenty of the dudes who are really upset about this in the comments are the kind of dudes who are super misogynistic. But that doesn't make it okay. Like, you can't literally fight misogyny with, the opposite of that and be like, see, we're getting somewhere. Hail Creepy Sylvania has the perfect response though, saying, the issue is that those toxic people are not the only ones who hear these comments. Plenty of short dudes who are just trying to live their lives are hearing it too. It's like the memes mocking 50 Cent for gaining weight. He's 46 and he looks heavier and less muscle than he did when he was popular in his 20s. That's normal, but mocking him mocks everyone who doesn't look like they did 20 years ago. I don't agree with the last part of what they said, but I really like that they brought up the 50 Cent thing. Because, wow, that was some serious fat shaming that happened to 50 Cent.
Yeah, that was fucked up. I just think it's really disappointing that an artist like 50 Cent, who's like clearly has music that's like respected and loved in the community, like can make an appearance, like a music performance, like appearance, and then like at the end of the day, all people have to say is like, oh, like he's gained weight, ha ha ha, like
type of shit make you never want to show up for Thanksgiving.
And it's like he was performing that song like when he was in his 20s, like that comment says. Like, he's an old man now. Like, he's not an old man, but like you shouldn't be shaming older people.
It still wouldn't be okay to be like, Jonah, you looking big again, super bad. Like,
I just think it's really weird how obsessed with people's weight we are in general. Like, why do we care? Why do we even have to make those observations if they gain weight or lost weight? It's weird. Just let them look how they look and just don't make comments about people's physicality.
I just think it's terrible that we can't praise men the way that women are praised. Like, and that's not even necessarily on women. I think it's mostly on men. Like, men as men need to step up and, lift up other men, even if they don't fit the ideal that all men want to be. Just like how women who don't meet the ideal that all women want to be, or all women are told they should be, are praised, Yeah,
I think like women and men have to like work together, like acknowledge, like especially like some women in the comments that are like, oh, like just because women deal with sexism on a constant basis doesn't mean that like we should just ignore it.
The problem with misogyny is that it hurts everyone, right? It's misogyny. The whole thing about like men should be tall and women should be short is part of misogyny. It's part of men are strong and women are weak, right? And that men have physical power and dominion over women.
I gotta tell you, as a tall woman, I hate the heightism. Like, can we just not do it anymore? Like, we should just move past these stupid sexist rules we've made up for our society.
Eyes says, as someone who is under 170 centimeters, I'd like to say meh. I know I don't have human rights because people have basically been telling me this my entire life, including my own father. And there you fucking have it. Every time you go and you make fun of short men and call them less than human and tell them they need bone extending surgery, men like Eyes have to relive their father never thinking they're good enough because of their height. I hope that makes you feel really fucking good about yourself. John makes a super good point here. He says, it's not dismantling the patriarchy to mock short men, it's enabling it. Expectations that men should be tall and women should be short stem from expectations of gender roles. I'm sure plenty of short men are offended by this, are misogynistic, but the same standard makes women feel embarrassed if they're taller than their partner. Now, that's something that we can personally talk about, and this leads into our own personal discussion about this, which is that I'm 5'8" and Katie is 5'11".
That is correct.
Okay,
yes.
Katie can talk about it now. No, I'm just kidding.
As a tall woman, it's probably not as bad as like a short man, because like people make fun of you, but like they just make fun of you in different ways. Like, like, ha ha ha, you're like a man, like so big.
What the hell? You know what? You know what's not bad when it's bigger, guys?
There was one comment somebody, some YouTuber or something made, and they said like, if you're over 5'10" and you're a woman, I should be able to beat you, physically hurt you. Like,
Yeah, I don't
So
think it's
like,
different. I think that short men and tall women experience the same kinds of discrimination, which is
like
that it's like it's gender based, right? Like it's not about your height. It's about like you're not really a man or
right,
you're not really a woman.
right. It's so harmful. It's so wrong. Like, yeah, it's bad.
Honestly, it's not something I think about, and I don't know if that's just like something I'm saying right now or if it's true, but I think it's true. I just think that because I'm not particularly short, like I'm average height, so I've never really been made fun of. Maybe by someone who is really tall, they might have been like, oh, okay, shorty or something at some point, but I can't think of a specific instance.
I gotta say, I don't think about it anymore, but I don't know because I'm not a man that's short. I'm a woman that's tall. But in middle to high school, being a tall girl, it fucking sucks. Like, teen boys, you know, like they're all like toxic masculinity because like the media. So like, of course, the media stereotype is like you want a small, dainty woman. So like, no boy will publicly fuck with you like that, like, because it's probably not as bad now, but it was stigma, you know, like you would be made fun of for being a tall girl, and a guy wouldn't want to be with a girl that was tall because then people would make fun of him.
Well, I saw that
So-
one Futurama episode, Death by Snoo Snoo, so I was like, this don't seem so bad. I was like,
Yeah, I was watching like animes where like the guy was shorter and the girl was tall, and it was like all dramatic, and I was like, yeah, this isn't too different than like how it is in real school.
I feel like really more than anything, it's people who are like, oh, you don't mind her being taller than you? Or like, oh, wow, like that's cool. Or people just being
Those
taken aback.
people?
Well, see, the thing is,
Those
though,
people bother me. Like, fuck those people.
the issue for us, though, is really that, like, I'm Latino and I'm pretty fair-skinned, and Katie's black, so the bigger problem is that people are like, oh, interracial, then oh, he's a little shorter than her. Like, that's the bigger problem most people have. So we're a bad sample group because we experience so much discrimination for other reasons that it kind of drowns out any height issues we would otherwise face. The only thing is that I guess Katie doesn't get to wear high heels is the meme, but really it's just because Katie doesn't wear high heels as often as like other women might want to. Like, she could wear them, she would just be taller than me, more taller than she already is.
You make it sound so simple. Yes, I could wear high heels, but I know that if I put on high heels, I'm gonna be like 6'3", dude.
That's
like,
fine.
I'm 5'11" and a half. I'm basically 6 feet. So
Right.
to even put on 2 inches is to make me 6'2".
Oh,
What's the average height for women? Not 6'2". Okay? Like,
Yeah,
and
see,
even
this
though
is
I'm
the-
5'11", people still look at me like, wow, you're really tall
I
sometimes.
like how Katie looks, though.
Like-
and I wouldn't even mind if she was even taller and her butt stuck out a little bit because she was wearing high heels. So, like, for me, it's not an issue. Like, if I'm boob height,
And then-
that's ideal for
And then
me.
also, if you're black
Right.
and you're tall,
Wouldn't
like,
act all scared.
you're like a big, tall, like, come on, like,
They act scared.
it's easy.
The other women of other races is what she means to say.
Yeah.
Being a tall woman and being a tall black woman, those are two different things, guys.
Noticeable in a room. For being tall and for being black and for being a woman. If you're tall and a guy would be like, oh, that's just a normal stereotype we have for men. If you're a tall woman, it's like, you're not doing it right. Like,
Now, tons of
like-
people in the comments are also like, oh, where were you guys when the women were being discriminated against? And it's like, that's valid criticism for probably like a good 75% of these people, but we're higher level gaming. We not new to this.
consistently don't support bad things. Like, don't pick which bad things to support, like Kotaku did in this article.
No,
But-
they just gave off a little like a, little attitude. And then they just totally let the comments be a dumpster fire. But it's kind of interesting because if we lived in like a reverse world where where women were the the matriarchy. If it was the matriarchy, like this is how every comment thread would be. It's kind of funny for that reason. This has been an extremely in-depth political gaming news update. If you enjoyed this video, why don't you subscribe to Higher Level Gaming to always find out when we post videos just like this one? What do you guys think? Do you think what she said wasn't that bad? Do you think that it's just taken out of context? Or do you think that it's a good thing that she was fired and that men and women should be held to the same standard? Or do you think that her being fired was holding her to a higher standard than we hold men? Whatever you believe, we'd love to hear from you in the comments.
But above all else, don't forget to have a good day and go play some video games.
I can't. They keep calling me short.